Gentlemen, welcome to another video on the Longevity Strength Coach channel. In this video, I aim to address a very popular topic in the rock climbing world and in the grappling world, and that is elbow injuries. Elbow injuries often plague a lot of men over the age of 40, and it massively reduces the amount of time they can spend doing the thing that they really enjoy. Now, what would appear to be a very complex set of muscles across the forearms, the biceps and the triceps, this video aims to explain it all to you in a very simple manner and give you some solid solutions so that you can get rid of these issues forever. For those of you that have just jumped onto my channel, welcome. My name is Paul Green. I'm a former British paratrooper and Special Forces Support Group operator. I've worked with many men in an elite performance bubble who have had many issues with their body, and the same solution seems to, not the same specific solution, but the same approach seems to fit most joint issues. But now I'm fully online with the Longevity program, which is a laser focused strength and conditioning service for men over the age of 40 from all different extreme sporting backgrounds: rock climbers, martial artists, grapplers, kayakers, skydivers, free runners, skateboarders. And usually it's a very similar approach across the board. The plan for today, I'm going to deliver to you a little bit of an overview on how the elbow actually works. I would like that to give you confidence in training areas in which are causing you dramas. I want you to be able to take that information and figure out what you are actually over or under training within your week. And also in the gym as well. I'm going to give you my solutions. There's going to be a few papers to back up the words that I'm speaking. I'm going to give you some recommendations, and then I'm going to send you on your merry ways. If that sounds useful to you, then get yourselves comfortable. I see this video taking around 25 minutes. I appreciate your time. So, we get straight on to the first bit, and I'm going to play this video by Muscle and Motion, and I'm going to play it for about 90 seconds. So, let's just get this started. So, straight off the bat, pause that there. And we're talking specifically about the forearms, the biceps, the triceps, the elbows specifically. The elbow joint isn't a very complex joint. However, we have the fingers, the most dexterous part, probably the most dexterous part of the body, right? The forearm muscles are responsible for the movement of the wrist and the movement of the fingers. So that's it. That's all they do, right? So all this complicated shit just does that. So don't be afraid of what's going on here. Do I need to touch on anything else? I'll let this play. Strips it down, and we're talking specifically about the elbow joint. We've got elbow flexion, we've got elbow extension, we've got supination and pronation. We've got 4 things it does. Pause you there, and I'm going to go on to the ligaments, because we don't really care about absolutely everything and all the little goings on. So all you need to know with the ligaments, right, is ligaments' function is to restrict movement of the joint, excessive movement of the joint. We've got the medial ligament, which is the one on the inside of the elbow, and that breaks up into a few complicated words. Who cares about that? And we have got the lateral collateral ligament, which is the one on the outside of the elbow. So we have golfers and tennis elbow, two massively common injuries that plague many men, and they really cause some dramas. I've had them myself. Many a time, and I always have the same sort of solution to getting rid of them. So just understand, the elbow flexes, the elbow extends, and you've got the lateral collateral ligament, which is the ones on the outside, if you've got outside elbow pain, and you've got the medial collateral ligament, which is the inside of the elbow. Now these ligaments connect to muscles, and we can train them muscles to support and strengthen these ligaments when these issues arise. And just the point on the bottom there, most people that get golfers and tennis elbow have never played golfers and tennis in their lives. So don't really refer to it as that. Just refer to it as, I've got dramas on the outside of my elbow, or I've got dramas on the inside of my elbow. Doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to know all the buzzwords, honestly, right? So I'm going to go to the end, and we're going to see a little bit more of the function and the muscles actually working in these business areas. Now have a look at this and have a look at where your pain is, where the current issues are, because this will start to formulate some of the solutions in which you're looking for yourselves. So basically a tricep exercise is elbow extension, yeah? And now you've got a bicep exercise, cancel that, you've got elbow pronation. So pronation is when your palm is up and then you turn your palm down. As you can see, that works a little muscle in your wrist, and it also works a muscle, quite a big muscle there as well, that crosses the elbow. Now look at where that's at. That is at where a lot of these tennis golfers' elbow issues are. And then you've got supination, where your palm's facing down and then you bring it up. Notice how this works a little bit of the bicep, but it also works a sneaky little ligament that crosses the elbow on the other side. So that brings to life, right? I'll just let this play out. So this is bringing to life the functions that I showed at the start with the muscles. What I want you to pay attention to here is actually where your pain is, right? And understand that there is a movement in a gym or a movement at home that you can be doing to strengthen these weaker areas. So with that understanding, right, I want you to be able to think about what you do in the day, or what you do when you're rock climbing or grappling, that may have a massive issue, cause a massive imbalance on that. Like you said, like that video just showed there, there's 4 functions of the elbow, right? And golfers and tennis elbow usually happen when one of these is getting worked so much, and the other 3 functions, or the other 2 functions, if 2 are getting really overworked, are getting missed out. From my own experience, I've seen an absolute just crazy amount. They don't really talk about forearm flexors here. So if we go back to the start on this diagram here, before it strips it down, and then I'll get off this slide. So we've got a lot to get through today. Right, all these muscles here, all of these muscles on the front of the arm, on the bottom of the arm. When you look at your palm, you look at the bottom of your forearm, that's your forearm flexors. I see these issues arising most of the time because people's forearm flexors are getting overworked. However, that's just from my own experience in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world, in the rock climbing world. People from overgripping in both of them disciplines. Now, you might be on the tools all day. You might be, screwdriver, constantly doing supination, constantly doing pronation, all day, every day, which may cause issues. So what you need to think about is, am I overdoing it in one of them functions of the elbow? And am I not addressing the others to support, a nice balance of musculature? Because as I said, there's a lot going on here. And if you are only absolutely smashing one area, then you're going to see yourself off in the others, and it's going to cause a drama. Your elbow's going to go, you know what, mate, you fucking absolutely doing me in here, and it's going to lead to a breakdown of certain areas. So figure out, is it the inside or is it the outside, and then we can start to think about some solutions based off where you are currently placing the most demands through your elbow. And yeah, I'm not going to like highlight too much. Right, solutions then, straight in. There's 4. Well, I'm providing 4 here, right? So we got Marcus Bateman et al, and he concludes that you shouldn't be considering surgery or steroid injections if you've got these issues. So I'll rattle off a couple of sentences here. I'm not going to go into it too much. There is no consensus on the most suitable treatment for tennis elbow, but in the USA, surgical interventions is increasing despite a lack of supportive research evidence. Conclusions: the findings of this systematic review suggest that surgical interventions for tennis elbow are no more effective than non-surgical or sham interventions for patients who have already undergone a course of conservative treatment. Food for thought, gentlemen, because we live in a world where the magic pill is very shiny and it's very appealing, when it may not be the most sensible option. That makes sense. Let's get on to the next one. Another thing to be cautious about, geezers, right, is imaging. And Michael John Walton et al, he talks about this loads, and he talks about the reliability of imaging and how looking into the depths of your soul can lead to an image showing that you have tears and you have defects and all kinds of stuff going on. Now, all of these goings on from an image doesn't necessarily mean a loss of function or pain. There's no clear indication that an image provides, some form of beneficial solution. So be very cautious about imaging. If you're going to get an image done because you want some answers, it may show that you're okay, even though you're in pain. Likewise, like all of these papers show that there is often, some of these papers go on, like, let's say 100 people have got images, right? 100 people haven't got images. Cancel that. 100 people have got injuries, 100 people haven't got injuries. And they've all had their images done. And the inconsistencies in the results is just not even worth using it. So be very careful about using these types of things. So we go into the next one. So you have to reduce the frequency in which you're doing shenanigans, and I'm talking mainly about the intensity in which you're doing them. But I always say, if you're injured, you should shift your focus from that discipline and you should be in the gym more to get rid of that injury. If you're not injured, yes, of course you can express yourself in these disciplines. But this gives you an opportunity to focus more on the technical side of your game, your approach. Hire a coach and find out if you have a technical deficiency which is causing the issue. Because, yeah, great, it's clearly a physical deficiency, yeah. However, if that's a technical deficiency that you can correct because you're just a terrible climber or you're a terrible grappler, then it's an easy win, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And straight away, especially with beginners and intermediate level climbers and grapplers, over gripping and poor footwork. In the beginner stages of grappling, people use their arms loads and they don't really use their legs, and it's similar with with climbing as well. And also, as your volume increases as you prepare for competitions, these issues start to creep in. So you need to reduce this. And with that, like I touched on just then, you need to increase your strength training sessions. And just to just for a bit of expectation management, these parts of the body, these ligaments, are relatively low blood flow, and as much as they do get stronger and they can get stronger over time, there is still usually a time limit on how quickly you can overcome these issues. So expectation management, 8 to 12 weeks, right? And a study here by Stefanos Karanasios. Yeah, Stefanos Karanasios et al. He says, so they've done a systematic review, and they have looked at 2,100 subjects across 30 trials, and he basically says exercise interventions are better than passive interventions. Now, passive interventions are stuff like rice, price, prescribed medication, rest, ice, compression, elevation, right? Which is a passive intervention. Passive interventions are stuff like elbow straps and anaconda, whatever they're called. You know, we've all had these issues and we've all rested for a couple of weeks. Honestly. He says there's so much data on this that you need to exercise these areas. So with that, it's like, which direction do you go in? Where do you prioritize? And prioritize the areas, the untrained areas, and be aware of overuse. So what I mean by that is you just having that look, having that ability to look at your week and think, or have a look at your month. What am I doing that's causing a huge drama here with regards to my forearms, my elbows specifically? And the severity of your issue, because I know some people that are really in a bad way with this type of thing, and this is why I do these videos. The severity of your issue will dictate where you start on this scale here, right? And this scale is pretty important. I hope you can understand this terminology, because this is gold dust, gentlemen. I swear to God, this is gold dust. Isometric, eccentric, concentric, or full range. If you have a lot of pain and you really struggle with even considering full range of motion because the pain is excruciating, then you best believe, then the exercise I'm going to show you, you will be starting on isometric only until you can do the full range of motion pain-free. If the concentric part of the movement, which is the shortening of the targeted muscles, is too painful, then you are going to be doing eccentric only, which is the lengthened part of the muscle. And if these are all okay, then full range of motion is fine. And I was previously in a job where if there was pain, they would get pulled off the session, and then they'd end up into the med system and then rehab system, whatever. But now I've left that job role and I'm full-time online. I say this: don't be shy of training through a little bit of pain to promote repair, especially in these areas that have low blood flow. You're going to have to cause some very focused, very targeted aggravation in order to grow these muscles and ligaments and tendons to a better state than they currently are. Does that make sense? So don't be shy. Cool. So the next solution, right? Continue strength. This is the hardest one. Look, right? When you get pain-free, which will be very quickly, if you listen to this video, you will be pain-free very quickly, right? But what do you do when you're pain-free? You go back to the climbing wall, you go back to the crags, you go back to the boulders, you go back to the mats. And you are very happy about that. Full speed, full send, I miss it, I'm excited, I want to see if I've still got it. But you need to continue the strength training, even when you're pain free. Don't just stop getting strong, because just because your joints are strong doesn't mean they're resilient. So you need to build resilience to get rid of the chance of a reoccurring injury. Does that make sense? So I've got an elbow workout here, and just for ease, appreciate that you'll be doing an elbow workout for 2 to 3 times per week. Anybody with an injury on the longevity program, I get a lot of guys with any injury issues in their knees, elbows, rotator cuff. You best believe you're training that area more than you are training any other area. And the advice that you get as well is exactly the same. So we've got an elbow workout 2 or 3 times per week, depending on how fast you recover from them sessions. We start with tricep exercises, get the blood flow in the triceps and in the ligaments. 2 tricep exercises, flat dumbbell chest press, again another elbow exercise. Treat them all like elbow exercises. Don't think about training muscles, think about training joints. Wrist extension, dips, supination and pronation. You're probably thinking, what the hell are all these exercises? Right, no worries, I've got you covered. The next slide has the exercises on. But I just want you to think, when you are training with an elbow injury, think elbows, think full range of motion, think I am training my elbows. Fuck training your chest, fuck climbing, fuck the mats. I am training my elbows because my elbows are currently weak as piss. Also, this is another nugget, right? If you're in the gym because you want to train, you want to do something because you'd rather do something than nothing instead of being, smashing yourself on the walls and that, make sure when you're in the gym, you're giving your forearm flexors a break where possible. So for example, don't be doing deadlifts because it's a heavily grip focused exercise when you're previously over gripping on the wall or you're previously over gripping on the mats. Give your forearm flexors a break in the gym. Change the exercises to allow that. Hopefully that makes sense. So we get into the exercises and in this order as well, right? So a rule of thumb, 10 to 15 repetitions, 3 sets on every one of these exercises. Start with the tricep exercises because we want the blood flow there, and then progress onto the different elbow exercises. Notice how I aim to do, when I do this exercise, I'm aiming for full range of motion of the elbow joint. And that's my main focus. I'm trying to get like my bit of my forearm here to touch my bicep. And I'll just smash out 3 sets of that. Next one. The good thing is about skull crushers, right, is gravity is just putting stress on your elbow based off your elbow position. So it's very important that you are considerate of your elbow position when you're doing skull crushers. Next one, flat bench. Again, treat it like an elbow exercise. Go all the way down with your shoulders and just enjoy the fact that you're working your elbows through a different angle here. And as we continue, we've got another elbow exercise, dips. And you have nice, good lowering on the way down, and we're trying to maximize our elbow flexion. And there's a way you can do this by simply remaining as vertical as you can. If you remain as vertical as you can, you work your elbows a lot more. If you start to lean forward, which I'm doing on this video, that works my chest more. But make sure you stay vertical if you can. And we go into the opposite of the forearm flexors, which is the forearm extensors. So dumbbell forearm extension. And as you can see, he's working the opposite side. And again, opposite sides are amazing. Like, have the ability to just assess your own deficiencies. This exercise here that I've blew up is absolute gold dust. This is where we work the other 2 functions of the elbow, supination and pronation. This is called pronation, and this one is called supination. This works the inner and outside of the elbow unbelievably, right? With all them exercises there, right, I want you to appreciate your current pain level will dictate where you start on the scale of isometrics, which is the hold, you can do this exercise here. This is absolute. You can hold that position there. If you're in a lot of pain, you might not be able to simply do supination, pronation, supination, pronation. You might have to start with a hold, a 30-second hold, and then you change the angle, like by pushing your hand out a little bit further, and then you go fully extended, 30 seconds, and then you might be able to do just eccentrics. So you have to build yourself up. You have to be sensible. So with all of these exercises, you may be in that much pain that you have to start with isometrics. Isometrics to start with is absolute gold dust because you can work the muscles, tendons and ligaments that surround the area of concern so well. However, you don't ever shorten the joint angle, so there's no aggravation. It's just all benefit, and then you progress it to eccentric, concentric. However, you will be pain-free, full range of motion with just isometrics. But going back to this, when you are pain-free and you go back to your sport just because you're pain-free, you're setting yourself up for an absolute failure, right? Anyway, went on for a little bit longer than 25, but what a video this is, boys. Absolute unbelievable. I'm so proud to deliver this. This is phenomenal information. Anyway, I have touched on understanding how the joints function and where you may be overdoing it. So that helps you reflect on your own weaknesses. Being very, very careful about medical and surgical interventions and imaging. The frequency of your climbing and grappling, reducing if you have these elbow injuries, and maybe focusing more on the technical aspects, getting a coach, getting your techers better. The effects of strength training intervention and increasing the volume of strength training sessions when you have these issues. And I've give you an elbow workout template for you to take away and absolutely reap the rewards of. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I hope you found that video useful. Very, very passionate subject of mine. See you tomorrow.